Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. We finally have all the Nilfgaard cards of the next expansion, and they definitely look very competitive. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of the Assimilate archetype in the next few months to come, and although many players do not want to hear this, the best we can do is see how we can use these own cards to our advantage and get a head start on all those Nilfgaard meta players. If you can't beat them, join them. So let's take a look at the first card that has been released in the expansion regarding Nilfgaard. Alright, so our first card is the Star Wars version of Vilgefortz Renegade. As you can see, he is ready with his lightsaber and he's going to come for you all in your sleep. But he's an extremely powerful card and one that should not be overlooked. On deploy, he will swap a card from your opponent's graveyard with a card in your hand. Now, yes, this means Nilfgaard is not going to have only deck manipulation and hand manipulation. It now has graveyard manipulation as well. And it's going to make for some very interesting combinations, let's just put it like that. So, how can we incorporate Vilgefortz into our own deck? As you can see, he's 13 provisions, which is quite a bit, even in CDPR's standards. It means he definitely has some combos that are potentially very, very sketchy and can produce a lot of points. So already he is a mage and an agent. He plays for 6 points off the bat. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that you can perhaps yoink your opponent's Neuromancy, and you can give him something you don't necessarily want, like a 4 provision card. We also have some interesting synergies we could potentially consider. One of these is, of course, the meme version, which would include Viper. Now, Viper, of course, enters your opponent's graveyard when the round ends, and he will then start consuming everything in your opponent's graveyard. And once he ate everything, he will pop out of his opponent's graveyard and onto your side of the board. So not only do you get him back, you will also be getting rid of all those pesky graveyard cards. Now, this is a bit of a meme one, because a lot of these Nilfgaard cards actually require your opponent to have cards in their graveyard already. So it wouldn't exactly help if Viper ends up eating all of them. But this is one of the options. Now, another synergistic card that Vilgefortz is going to get along with is the next one. And it's the Imperial Practitioner. Now, Lionhearts and I looked at this one in open number 3. And we had to speculate what it was. I think we did guess it was Nilfgaard, because you normally see Poison in Nilfgaard or Syndicate, and this guy just has that Nilfgaard look. You know, can't really trust him. He has like a monocle or something on his one eye. So he's a 5 for 5 Assimilate card, which is already not bad in itself. He also has an order ability, meaning you can't use him immediately. You're going to have to wait 1 turn before you can actually click him. Now, he will spawn a base copy of the last card that went to your opponent's graveyard on top of your deck. So this has the potential to be astronomical. If you don't actually incorporate any setup with a card like this, he will be able to spawn the last card that went into your opponent's graveyard. So, I mean, this could very well be something like a Neuromancy, because it doesn't say unit, it says card. Of course, your opponent will see you playing this, and he will potentially be able to manipulate or intercept your play, because he just has to make sure something goes into his graveyard that isn't worth a while. Of course, you can use this card whenever you want to, and you can quickly kill something on your opponent's side of the board and then use Imperial Practitioner. But the combo that we could potentially use regards Vilgefortz. So what did we see Vilgefortz doing? It swaps a card from your opponent's graveyard with a card in your hand, and in layman's terms, that means we can place any card in our hand, no matter how good, in our opponent's graveyard. Okay? Now, what does that mean? It means that our Imperial Practitioner will be able to spawn that card on the top of our deck. So, what happens if we have many Imperial Practitioners? We're gonna have many OP cards on the top of our deck. This can be anything from something like Brathens, Arto Terra Nova, any OP card you can get at the top of your deck. Maybe Kahir, I don't know what you're planning on doing, But this obviously has a lot of synergy, and again, you can also prevent your opponent from actually using that card by incorporating something like a location synergy with Cantarella, and you have Joachim to draw something out of your deck if need be in round 3. So I think these combinations are going to be exceptionally competitive, and we'll definitely see them in the next few competition settings. So Vilgefortz, 13 provision card, I give him a 5 out of 5. I think he's very OP. It's going to take a little bit of setup, but everything in Nilfgaard takes a little bit of setup. So I'm giving Vilgefortz a 5 out of 5. Then we have Imperial Practitioner. Very much like his 5 for 5 provision to unit value. I also give him 5 out of 5. I think this is a very good card. It's not a lot of commitment. You won't exactly lose a lot of points if it doesn't work out the way in which you intended to. You have everything to gain and you almost have nothing to lose. He's an assimilate card. He plays for 5 points off the bat. Exceptional synergy with Vilgefortz. 5 out of 5. Alright, and next we have the Illusionist. Now you can see Shiku was the one who revealed this card. He looks very excited. Honestly, I love this card art. It is super nice, perhaps my favorite so far. And it is a deploy card. It's a 3 for 4, and it will spawn a base copy of a bronze unit from your opponent's graveyard on the right side of this card and set its power to 1. So this card relies on your opponent to have cards in his or her graveyard. Now, I think too many cards are relying on our opponent's graveyard to be of value, because if our opponent doesn't play bronze units round 1, you can't exactly use Illusionist if one of those haven't entered the graveyard. This could potentially be a brick, and it also has bonded synergy. So if you potentially play one Illusionist and then a second one, and then maybe even a third one with the Mushy Truffle card we revealed a few days ago, then we won't set its power to 1. So if you get a bigger bronze card, like a Bear Witcher, you get a solid 8 points. Of course, you would have to have the bonded ability, so you'd have to draw into these cards in order to do so. I think this is a good card. I don't necessarily think it's a must include in your Nilfgaard deck. It depends what your synergy is going to be like, what archetypes you're relying on, and what your overall strategy is. I would give this card a 2.5 out of 5. Merely because it has a little bit of setup and you aren't guaranteed to always get bonded out of this. It only has a big point slam value if you have bonded, and if your opponent has played big bronze units, and if they are in the graveyard. So you kind of rely on a lot of factors to play out perfectly before you get ultimate value out of Illusionist. And even though this is a soldier and a mage, it doesn't have assimilate, so you're not going to have a passive engine going in the background. I give this 2.5 out of 5. It has the potential to point slam, but I don't think it's a must include card. Alright, and finally, we have Lydia von Breidefert. Now, I am very excited about this card art. First and foremost, I've talked about her potential premium version with a few streamers. Spacey and I both think she has the potential to have a very creepy, sinister card art, because we see the plant covering a side of her face, and in the back we see a mirror, and she hasn't turned yet. So I just think this is going to be very creepy, especially with regard to her lore. And Kaluneta got to reveal this card, which is awesome, because Kaluneta is awesome, and I'm glad she got to reveal a nice card like this one. It is a mage, it is a human. It plays for 5 points off the bat, which isn't bad. On melee, it will create and play a bronze special card from your opponent's faction. That's quite nice. It is sort of like bribery in a way. It's a bit risky depending on what you're going for, but if you're going for assimilate, Lydia is just going to give you 9 for 9 at least most of the time, because she is going to spawn a 4 provision special card, worst case scenario, and you will be triggering your assimilate engines while you're at it. On the ranger, she will play a bronze special card from your opponent's graveyard. Again, we have a lot of graveyard manipulation here. Remember, you're not spawning, you're playing a bronze special card from your opponent's graveyard. So you are going to be able to get quite a bit of assimilate value, but you also rely on your opponent actually having cards in their graveyard. So a lot of the times you might very well end up going for the melee option. It depends when you're playing this card and exactly what your opponent is playing. But I do like Lydia. I think she's a very strong competitive tech. I don't think she's a must include, but I do think we will see her in many Nilfgaard decks to come. I must say, I think I will give her a... I think I will give her a 4.2 out of 5. Yes, for now I'm giving her a 4.2 out of 5. She's not a must include, but she has the potential to give you exceptional value, and depending on what her premium looks like, she might go to 4.5 out of 5. We'll see. I'm hoping for the best. Okay guys, that has been me and my opinion about the new Nilfgaard cards. I think it's going to support an already very strong archetype, which is Assimilate. I don't think Nilfgaard needs an entirely new synergy, and very adequately this one supports the current synergy we already have. Unlike Square Tile, where we are trying to make a new viable combo out of hand buffs, Nilfgaard is getting support for something that already works. Yeah, I think Vilgefortz will be played in many decks to come. We'll see what combos the pros try out. There are quite a few you can think of. If you have any other ideas, something I have missed, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I do read all of them and I find your inputs extremely interesting. I discuss them on stream as well and ask everybody what they think about it. And yeah, so far we have quite a few decks in mind that we're going to be building on day 1 of the expansion. I'll see you very soon with a new Syndicate expansion video, and I'll be casting the top 64 qualifiers tonight with Lionheart. Whether this video is live by then is yet to be seen. I hope to see you guys there, and I hope you guys had a great weekend. I'll see you soon.